Hey guys, it's Xylanol here with my Graydle deck, and I'm going to show you an overview of it. Well, first off, Graydles are one of my favorite archetypes. They're absolutely great, really fun for making the opponent be enraged. If you love playing and predicting your opponent, this is the card type for you. First off, Graydle Slime. I'm going to start off with him because he is pretty valuable here. But not as valuable as Graydle Slime Jr. That's why you can see that I don't have two of them. Graydle Slime is, well, a really good card for this deck because if it's in the hand or the graveyard, you can target two Graydle monsters, any of these cards, except for Snowman Eater, of course, because it's not a Graydle. Even the spell or trap cards, Graydle Split and Graydle Impact, if you want, Graydle Dragon to activate its effect. But, excuse me, I would recommend doing Graydle Eagle or Graydle Dragon with this effect, because Graydle Dragon and Graydle Eagle's effect benefit from being destroyed by a monster effect, primarily Graydle Eagle with monster effects. It doesn't really matter with Graydle Dragon. It special summons a water monster from the graveyard no matter what, other than Graydle Dragon, of course. But you can use this and this card as it's a level 5 tuner, so that's pretty good. With just a level 3, you can get level 8 monsters like Scarlight Dragon, White Aurora Whale, Scrap Dragon, and of course Graydle Dragon. With Graydle Slime's effect, sorry, it lets you special summon one card from your graveyard. So if you tributed, say, Graydle Cobra and Graydle Alligator, you could bring back either one of those or any other card that's in your graveyard that's a Graydle, and I would say those, not Graydle Slime Jr. or Graydle Dragon, but it's up to you. If you want a 3000 beat stick back, that's fine. But you could use Graydle Dragon's effect to get another one of these back and get two Graydle Dragons, which is pretty good. But it forces them into defense position when they're summoned, so it's not that good. To have your attack monster in defense position. Anyways, next up we're gonna go with the Graydle Eagle, Graydle Cobra, and Graydle Alligator. They are basically the same card. Each one has different attack and defense, of course. Each one has similar effects. When all of them, each and every one, if they're destroyed by a card effect, they will take control of one face-up monster on the field by equipping themselves to it, which is a really neat effect. But where their effects differ is Graydle Eagle also activates when it's destroyed by a monster effect. Graydle Cobra activates when it's destroyed by a trap card effect. Graydle Alligator activates when it's destroyed by a spell card, as you can tell because of the coloration of them corresponding to the one that they want to be destroyed by. Next up, I put Snowman Eater in here because he's an aqua and a water type, and he works pretty well with this deck. He can be taken back by salvage, and he destroys one face-up monster on your opponent's side of the field. What's not to love about that? Graydle Slime Jr. One of the best cards, main deck cards, for the Graydle archetype. When it's normal summoned, you can target one Graydle monster in the graveyard and special summon that monster. And if you have a monster of the same level, an aqua monster, of course, you can special summon it. So you can get, like for instance, a Graydle Eagle back from your graveyard, and if you have a Graydle Cobra in your hand, you can special summon it. And that can immediately go into a synchro summon for Graydle Dragon, which, due to Graydle Dragon's effect, will let you destroy 3 cards because there were 3 water monsters destroyed, well, used as tribute for its synchro summon. And, well, yeah, that's it for Graydle Dragon, all the main deck monsters. I'll go into the spell cards now, sorry. Salvage is really good because you can get all of these cards that I have right now, except all the main deck cards, can be searched back by salvage. Which, meaning that you could get Graydle Slime Jr. back. You don't really need Graydle Slime regular back because his effect works in the graveyard. I would recommend getting Graydle Slime Jr. if you can have it. Snowman Eater or another Graydle animal monster. So, the next card is Graydle Impact. This is a great card, especially with Graydle Alligator because these two work great together. When Graydle Alligator is destroyed by a spell card effect, as I've said earlier, it can take control of one of the face-up monsters on your opponent's side of the field. This card destroys one Graydle monster you control, and one Graydle card, you control, and one card your opponent controls. It also has an additional effect. During the end phase, you can add one Graydle card from your deck to your hand. So it can search out any Graydle card, including Graydle Slime Jr., regular Graydle Slime, all the monster Graydles, even Graydle Split, and even another Graydle Impact if you really want it. Also Graydle Combat. Forgot about that. Aquarium Stage is more or less a fodder for an aquarium set as well, or is fodder for magical hats. I'll get into that later. Battle Mania is really good with this deck because all the monster Graydles that aren't tuners, of course. I'll just call them non-tuners. All the non-tuner Graydles have their effects activated when they're destroyed by battle. They get to take control of a monster. That's really good. So it forces your opponent's monsters that are on the field during the standby phase to attack. So you basically get a free activation of any of your Graydles, even if your opponent didn't want to attack that turn. Next up is Graydle Split, which works really, really well with Graydle Cobra, kind of like the synergy with Graydle Impact and Graydle Alligator. Sorry about that noise. Graydle Split and Graydle Cobra work hand in hand because this destroys the card that it's equipped to special summon 2 Graydle monsters. So that means you can get Graydle Slime and Graydle Eagle on the field if they're in your deck, and special summon them and immediately go into a synchro summon of Graydle Dragon. But if you use Graydle Cobra with Graydle Split, you can even take control of a monster afterward. This also has some benefits because it doesn't exclusively have to be equipped to a Graydle monster. It can be equipped to any monster you control, and it gains 500 attack, so that's pretty good. Magical hats, like I said earlier, the aquarium cards that I have in here are just fodder for my magical hats because they summon a aqua type monster from the graveyard when they're removed from the field. And magical hats searches them out from the deck and places them down as monsters. And if your opponent didn't destroy them during that battle phase, they get destroyed at the end of the battle phase anyway. So you basically get 2 free aqua type monsters from your graveyard. Unless your opponent destroyed one of your aqua types on the field, then. Graydle Parasite is kind of an iffy card, but it works really well with this deck. When an opponent declares a direct attack, you get to special summon 1 Graydle monster from your deck in attack position. That means that you still take the damage, but it's not that good, see? But also it has another effect. When a Graydle monster you control declares a direct attack, you target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon that target if they control no monsters. So, from what I can surmise from this card, it basically tries to get your opponent to attack a Graydle monster or you to attack a non-Graydle monsters to take control of that monster, which pretty much makes you lose life points either way. It's not that good, but it's still a Graydle card. It can be destroyed by Graydle impact, so I put 3 of them in here. Call of the Haunted, obvious choice. You get to get 1 monster from your graveyard in attack position. It's kind of a staple for most decks. Graydle Combat, really interesting card. When a spell or trap card or monster effect that targets one of your Graydle monsters, and only one of them, of course, is activated, you can activate one of the effects on it here. The activated effect becomes destroy that monster or negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So if I don't know, a monster that has Man-Eating Bug, I don't know, that's a really old card, but when it's flipped face up, you get to destroy 1 face up monster your opponent controls, or I don't know, it might be just monster. If it targets Graydle Eagle, that's great, but if it targets Graydle Cobra, that's not really good for you, because then Graydle Cobra's effect won't activate. So you might want to activate Graydle Combat to negate and destroy that card. And for instance, if it says there's a card that negates something, I don't know, I can't think of any off the top of my head right now. Then you could change that activated effect to destroy that monster. Like if there's a card that targets and negates, you could just change that effect to destroy that monster. So Graydle Eagle's effect activates. That's it with the main deck. So let's move on to the extra deck. I have Star Eater in here because why not? It's a really good card. It's unaffected by card effects until the end of the damage step after it attacks. Its Synchro Summon cannot be negated. When it's Synchro Summon, cards in effect cannot be activated. It's pretty good. Sadly, it doesn't have any protection outside of that, but hey, that beggars can't be choosers. Leo, the Keeper of the Sacred Tree, is really, really good. Just amazing. I love it. Cannot be targeted by opponent's card effects, except for during your main phase 2. Meaning that if your opponent wants to say Soul Taker or something, I forget what that's called, they can't do it until your main phase 2. But they can't activate that regular spell card during your main phase 2, so they can't really do it. Next up is Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. Well, this is an obvious staple card. That's why it's banned to 1, because it's so overpowered. When it's Synchro Summon, you can banish 1 card from each your opponent's hand, field, and graveyard. It's really neat because you can banish 1 card from their graveyard that they really wanted to revive, and 1 random card from their hand and 1 card from their field. That's pretty much the whole package right there. Next card, Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. I really like Red Dragon Archfiends. I might make a deck out of them later, but this one really is really good. When this card, well, it's treated as Red Dragon Archfiend while it's on the field or in the graveyard, and once per turn you could destroy all the special summon effect monsters on the field with attack less than or equal to this card, and inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each monster that was destroyed by that effect, which is really good. Like if they have, I don't know, pendulums, and they summon a whole entire field of random effect monsters, you can just activate that during your turn and just wipe their field. It's really hilarious. I've done that once. I wish I had a screenshot of it. Graydle Dragon I've already really explained, but I'll go over it again. When it's Synchro Summon, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of water monsters that was used for the synchro summon of this card. So with this card, you want to use as many synchro materials like Graydle Slime Jr., Graydle Eagle, and Graydle Cobra. That equals level 8, so it would be 3 monsters. But when it's also when it's destroyed by a battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target one other water monster in your graveyard. You don't want it to infinitely summon Graydle dragons and special summon it, but and its effects are negated. It's a pretty good card all around. Sadly, it has a archetype tuner limiting, so can't be really used as a staple for most decks. White Aurora Whale. I always have a hard time saying that. It's really great card. When it's synchro summoned, you can destroy all of your opponent's attack position monsters, and it can attack 2 times on monsters during each battle phase. I never understood why this put each battle phase, because I've never seen a card that makes you have 2 battle phases. But anyways, if it attacks a defense position monster, it inflicts piercing damage, meaning I don't really know how to explain it. It acts as if the monster is in attack position and does damage calculation that way. And if it's destroyed by an opponent's card, by battle or card effect, and sent to the graveyard, you can banish one other water monster in the graveyard and special summon this card. And when you do, it is treated as a tuner monster, which is pretty good, but not really feasible. It could be used with one of your level 3s to synchro summon Star Eater, but I think White Aurora Whale is a better monster than Star Eater right now. Scrap Dragon is basically Graydle Impact, but it doesn't have to be a Graydle card. It lets you target one card you control and one card your opponent controls and destroy them. This doesn't really matter because it's not a scrap deck, but when it's destroyed by an opponent's card and sent to the graveyard, you can target one non-synchro scrap monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So if you had a scrap deck, you can summon like scrap. I don't know any of these scrap cards. Clearwing Synchro. This is a staple for any synchro deck. Sadly, I don't really know any combinations that could get Clearwing on here, but I kind of had to fill out the extra deck. I'm not going to really explain it. Same thing with Gungear. I can never say that. Sorry. Same thing with Gungear. I don't really know how to get a level 7 on the field with these cards. And even Black Rose Moonlight. I don't know how to do that. But I have gotten Dueler Tiger King of the Ice Barrier up. He is mediocre. You can return any face-up cards you control to the hand, which could be 2 Graydle Impacts or any of the Aquarium cards, or even Graydle Split if you really wanted to. And it gets 500 attack for each one of the cards returned. So if you return like 5, that's 2,500. Sorry, it took me a second. So that's 4,500 attack that he has. I've only been able to get him off once, and I didn't use his effect because the opponent forfeited. Sea Dragon Lord, I can never say that. Galician Dawn, I don't know. When a level 3 or lower monster, basically all of these, all the main deck, is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, this card's attack becomes 3,000 until the end phase of this turn. So it becomes as strong as a Blue Eyes White Dragon. As you see, my side deck isn't quite filled out yet, but it has White Aurora Baphomet. I hope I'm saying that right. When it's synchro summoned during your turn, you can special summon one Divine Dragon token, which is basically a copy of this card in defense position. Once per turn during your opponent's turn, if you control no tokens, you can special summon one of those, too. And if White Aurora Baphomet is destroyed by an opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard while you have a Divine Dragon token, you can special summon White Aurora Baphomet to the field. And that is a pretty good side deck card, but I wish I knew how to summon it, because it needs a tuner synchro monster, which White Aurora Whale is pretty good. I just need a non-tuner level 2 monster to put in here. I used to have one. It was one of the Aqua actresses. Uh, let's see. It was Guppy. There we go. I used to have these three, but Terrata's effect for some reason didn't work on Nexus, so I had to take them out. It didn't add any of the aquarium cards from my deck to my hand. I have no idea why. But yeah, that's basically it with my Graydle deck. Goodbye.